knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star three trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid, your Thursday edition of the show. I'm Craig Mish. Lots to get to on today's program. We will break down the latest in the National Basketball Association and another wild night in the NBA. Adam Kaufman will be with us to break it all down. We got Brady Kannon in the house. The Truist Championship is coming up this week. We're also less than 10 days away from the PGA Championship as well. Matt Lutovsky talks some baseball with us here on the show and the very latest on news in the world of sports wagering as well. That's where we'll begin today, as it looks like FanDuel is opening up a potential another operation very similar to a lot of these other prediction market companies throughout the United States. In fact, Flutter CEO Peter Jackson made a statement yesterday that FanDuel is closely monitoring the developments around the futures market and the potential for direct and indirect opportunities for FanDuel to explore. Now, if you're looking for what that really means, it's basically, as Sam McQuillan stated there on his social media post, that a lot of these different prediction market companies have been able to operate outside of the legal markets inside the United States. And so FanDuel could be taking a look at this and saying, hey, look, why don't we get into the prediction market outside of the legal states in the United States? So keep an eye on this, because it could potentially lead to either a whole lot more prediction markets opening up across the country or none. Seems like one or the other. Let's get to the NBA. Steph Curry not going to play in the next game for the Golden State Warriors. Of course, they lost him in the first game, and it's confirmed that he's got a grade 1 hamstring strain. He'll be reevaluated in 1 week, so that puts him out for at least the next couple of games. Although it is Steph Curry, you never know. He's superhuman. Maybe he'll return, but definitely not going to be playing in Game 2. Meanwhile, what will Game 3 in New York at Madison Square Garden look like after the Knicks beat the Celtics again last night, 91-90. New York now up 2-0 in the best of 7 series. They were heavy underdogs going into this thing. Karl Anthony Towns, 21 points, 17 rebounds. The Celtics were up by 20 with 3 minutes left in the third. Felt like a repeat of the last game. The Celtics could not knock down a 3 at the end of the game. And the Celtics were 46-1 with a 16-point lead, and they just blew 20 back-to-back. But Tom Thibodeau gives credit to his defense for the win.
Yeah, like people always talk about offensive runs. I think you go on defensive runs as well. You also go on rebounding runs. You'll see guys, all of a sudden, they have, like Josh is a prime example. All of a sudden, he has 2 or 3 rebounds, and then he'll get like 4 or 5 in a row. So it's like making shots. And so I think whatever it takes for us to win, like Carl had the big and one, like Mikhail with timely baskets, Jalen with timely baskets, Josh with his hustle, Mitch all over the floor, switching, guarding, great impact. But that's a team working together.
What happened there in the last 5 minutes? It just seemed like you guys couldn't score, and they just made every play.
Yeah, they made every play, and like I said, even throughout the end of the fourth quarter, I thought we generated some good looks, and then I thought we had some live ball turnovers, and they took advantage of it. So they made the necessary plays to win. We put ourselves in position to do that, and we just didn't make the plays.
All right. Meanwhile, the Oklahoma City Thunder stormed back in Game 2 against the Denver Nuggets. This is what we expected going into the series. OKC gets it done, 149-106 the final. So now that series officially tied at 1, and the Thunder can take a breath after that game because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 34 points and 8 assists. By the way, OKC had 87 points in the first half of this game. That's an NBA playoff record. It almost seems like that's not right. 87 points in the first half. They led by as many as 49. A very humble Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who, by the way, is about to win the NBA MVP here pretty soon, talked about the win.
It's good. It's a good feeling. Good for our confidence. But like in the series, especially this late in the season, every game's gonna look different. We know that every team's going to make an adjustment. They're going to throw a curveball. Like, we can't, just like we couldn't relish on the loss, we can't relish on the win. We got to move forward, take the good things from tonight and scratch the bad things and be a better team come the next game. And that's what we're focused on.
Oh, yeah, we didn't basically it was one team playing tonight. Even the turnovers, misses, they were aggressive. They were going by us. They were rebounding the ball. They were just better. They were much, much better than us today, and that's the score. That's why the score is so bad.
Nicola, how do you deal with their physicality when they're? It seems like you're always getting called reaction. You personally reacting. How do you deal and kind of play through their physicality if they're going to let, especially the smaller guys?
Just try to fight for the position as best as you can, and deal with consequences.
I think right now the consequences for the Florida Panthers, my Florida Panthers. Oh, could they be losing in a 7-game series to the Toronto Maple Leafs? Right now, they're down 0-2. Maple Leafs win 4-3. They were up 3-2, were the Panthers, but Anton Lundell tied it up for Toronto in the second period. Mitch Marner has been struggling. Then he scored the tie-breaking goal with 14 minutes. There was also a little bit of a controversial penalty in this game as well. But Craig Berube, the Maple Leafs head coach, is up 2-0, but says there's still work to be done.
I thought our game in the third period was actually really good. Maybe early on, the first 5 minutes, not a little bit letting them come at us too much, and we didn't break the puck out very well. But I thought after that it was pretty good. And then obviously with the goalie out, it's it's all loose, not loose, but it's they're chucking everything at the net, and that's the way they play. And guys did a good job, competing, battling, blocking shots, all the things that we need to do to be successful.
In the other series in the West, in the National Hockey League, the Stars lead the series 1-0 as they beat the Jets 3-2. Mikko Rantanen, who had a hat trick in Game 7 versus Colorado, had another hat trick as well. Stars are the favorites, by the way, win the Stanley Cup at plus 310 on FanDuel. Here's Peter DeBoer, head coach of the Stars, after the game.
You said in Game 7 that you had never seen a player have a 3-game stretch like Mikko Rantanen had. Have you ever seen a player have a 2-game stretch like he's just had?
We'll keep it going. Let's see how long he can run this for. He's rolling, and he's feeling it, and pretty impressive what he's doing. I mean, considering the opponent and the time of year, and how he's dominating games, really impressive. So, and I think it's the first time we won a Game 1 since 2019. I thought our group did a lot of good stuff. I mean, Otter made some huge saves down the stretch. PK was outstanding. Got a power play goal. Special teams again were great. So there's a lot of things there for us to build on.
Very competitive series in Major League Baseball between the Yankees and Padres. Meanwhile, Padres are hoping for the best for their starting pitcher, Dylan Cease, who looks like could potentially miss some time. We'll probably know today. But the Yankees win 4-3 in 10 innings. They break up Cease's no-hit bid in the 7th, and then he left hurt. J.C. Escarra had a walk-off sacrifice fly. Aaron Boone, after the game, talked about after Cease left, getting to that bullpen.
Last two nights against their bullpen, what have you liked most about your team's at-bat quality?
Yeah, I mean, that's, obviously that's about as good as you're going to go up against, the guys that they can run out. Last night it was their lefty specialists against our lefties, and we ran up a ton of great at-bats. Big time pinch hit there by Grish, obviously. One big swing to get us back in against Adam, who's really tough on lefties too, and was in that spot probably where they wanted him, and that's just a huge swing by Grish.
Great start for Robbie Ray and the San Francisco Giants. 6 strong innings. The Giants beat the Cubs 3-1. Mariners rally 5 down to beat the A's 6-5, and Juan Soto is now red hot officially with the New York Mets in consecutive at bats. The Mets beat the Diamondbacks 7-1. More baseball coming up with Matt Lutovsky of Sporting News.
Knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star trio is, they can make the guys around them better, and they can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The early line. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're checking in on the American League and the very latest odds to win divisions and MVPs and Cy Youngs. Let's do it all. Matt Lutovsky is here with us from Sporting News. Matt, great to have you back here on NewsWire. Let's dive in here. Talk some starting pitching here where, I mean, look, Hunter Brown has been so good for the Houston Astros. It seems like time after time I'm seeing those odds just shoot down. In fact, he's not the favorite yet to win the Cy Young, but you can make the case over the last month he's been fantastic. We have 4 pitchers that are really off the charts good thus far. Max Fried is 6-0, his ERA just over $1. What a signing that was for the Yankees. Tyler Mahle's easily the biggest surprise on this list with Texas, then Hunter Brown. And Tariq Skubal, who, by the way, is still the favorite because of how he pitched last year. And it looks like Matt Skubal is going to be involved in some very meaningful games at the end of the season as well. And I think that's probably why he's the favorite with the Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good options. And I think it's going to be one of those races that really evolves. Obviously, health is going to be a major, major factor. And then how guys pitch down the stretch. I think looking at that group, I think Skubal's still the best pitcher. That's not exactly going out on a limb to say, but sometimes when a guy wins it and there can be voter fatigue and, you look for someone new and you mentioned Brown, and I think, yeah, he's been fantastic. The numbers are all solid all across the board. And he's the kind of guy who I think can keep, having these good starts, go deep into games and keep impressing and kind of keep, improving his odds even more. So if you like him, and I think a lot of people do, and they should, now's a good time to get into, to buy into him. And I think Male is the one who I would probably kind of question the most. And you said it was a surprise, so I don't think people are necessarily going all in. But advanced numbers on him, not quite as good. I think there's some worry where some of the other pitchers you mentioned and even some of the others out there where just the overall numbers, I think, are better when you probe them a little deeper.
All right, so now let's go over the MVP odds. And at this point, I mean, is it anybody except Aaron Judge at this point? I mean, the guy's still hitting 400. I mean, here we are, and we're going to be halfway through May next week. The numbers are incredible, but it's just not bettable. He's such a big favorite. Alex Bregman is definitely playing himself into a mega contract after the season with the year that he's having for the Red Sox. He's been, I say better in any first month that he ever had with Houston. And then, Cal Raleigh, it's interesting that a catcher would be on the list here, although I don't see him winning it. I don't even think it's a two-player race at this point, Matt. It's like, I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, if Aaron Judge hits 280 the rest of the year, he's going to win the MVP.
Yeah, it's Judge in the field right now. There's no question. I mean, there's not a lot of value in betting on Judge. It might feel like you're wasting your money on anyone else. Obviously, it would be in event of injury where you would look at it and say, well, buying into someone else paid off. I don't think you want to invest much. But I think but what's funny about that, though, is in almost any other year, if you took Bregman off the list, or you took Judge off the list, Bregman would be kind of the obvious front runner to me. Just he's having an MVP type season. Sometimes when you look at a player and you look at his numbers, it just jumps out MVP. And you kind of mentioned with Raleigh where it's a catcher, he has a low batting average. We know that doesn't mean as much anymore as it used to MVP voters. The homers are there, everything else is there, but it doesn't necessarily scream MVP. Now the homers he's hitting do, the way he's playing, the fact he's just a phenomenal catcher, calling games behind the plate with his glove, but does that really factor into MVP voting much? I doubt it. So it's certainly Judge. I think then you have Bregman. You got to watch Bobby Witt Jr. too. Another guy, though, who a lot of his value when you look at sort of a composite number like WAR comes from his defense. And sometimes MVP voters, they don't value that as much, or at least not enough to, maybe get you over the hump over someone who has the really impressive triple slash line, which Witt does too. But it's Judge in the field. There's no getting around it, and we probably wasted too much time just talking about it. But that's what we do out here.
No, I understand. Okay, so this has been the biggest surprise division in baseball with how poor it has been, Matt. Because the Yankees, I mean, they're not even that great, man. I mean, 21-16, they're a favorite. But if any team was just to get hot in the AL East, they could certainly catch them. And I think that would include the Red Sox and the Rays. I was never big on the Blue Jays to begin the season, so I honestly don't even know direction they're headed in. And the Orioles are clearly the big shock here. And there's probably going to have to be some sort of change going on here. They can't continue to play, 100 loss baseball over the course of the season.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's just, man, when you dig yourself a hole like they've dug themselves, it's baseball. It's a long season, but it's tough. It's tough to come out of it when you're in a division with some of those two teams anyway that are at the top. And no one, like you said, is really playing great baseball right now. But I think they have the pieces in place to do so. So I think, Yankees and Red Sox, I think it's going to be a great race, old school race, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if I really trust the other three teams in that division, though, right now to really get in there and challenge for that division crown. But there's certainly enough time to do it if they can get on track. But I like the top two teams in that division overall.
And meanwhile, the West has been great. You have the Mariners, the A's. You got to consider the A's in it at this point. Houston, this is where they were last year, 500. We know Texas will battle. Eliminate the Angels here. I still think this is a 4-team race.
Yeah, I do too. I think the Rangers right now offer the best value by far. The run differential isn't great. The bats just haven't quite been there. But I think when you look at the roster and you look at the talent they have, if the pitching can stay healthy, big if, but that's a team that can really make a run and really push for it. And like you said, the A's, I mean, the little team that could, I think that they're more talented than people gave them credit for. They're playing well. Again, another team's a weird run differential that doesn't imply that their record should be as good as it is, but nonetheless, it's a fun story. So I think that's going to be a really good race.
And then finally, the team to beat in the American League at this point, Matt, it's got to be the Tigers. They've got the best pitching in baseball right now. Cleveland will be right there. I think Minnesota will. I'm sorry, Kansas City, Minnesota. I just don't think they did enough in the offseason, and Chicago, of course, is out of it. But, the thing to me that's really interesting about the Tigers, Matt, you would got to think that ownership group in Detroit is feeling like this is it. I mean, we got the right manager, we got the right players. I think that they're going to be in for some really big moves at the deadline, and I think Detroit's got a chance to win the World Series.
Yeah, I agree. They got moves to make. Cleveland's another team, negative run differential despite a really solid record. I could see them falling back a little bit. A lot of talent, but Kansas City's the team that I would watch there to make a push. But I think the Tigers are the best team in that division. And Minnesota stays healthy, they're interesting, but they rarely stay healthy. So we'll see.
All right, Matt. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right. Somebody on this show picked the Tigers to win the World Series. There's only one host. Wonder who it was. Brady Cannon's up next.
Vegas knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Is Steve Kerr coming back? They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they played. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The early line. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 18.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The PGA Championship is next weekend, but we have one event up until then, and that's this weekend in the Truist Championship, and we've got a lot of the big names playing in this thing. Brady Kannon is with us to pick a few winners here, see if we can scratch out maybe a long shot or two here. Brady, great to have you back here on NewsWire.
Hey, great to be with you, Craig. Yeah, a signature event. Everybody here except for Scotty Scheffler. He regularly takes this week off. You're allowed to take one signature event off throughout the year, and Scotty has chosen to do so here off of that historic victory at the Byron Nelson last week. But everybody else is here gearing up for next week at Quail Hollow, an old school course. We've never seen this place before. the Philadelphia Cricket Club, the Wissahickon course. I'm excited to see it, going back to the old school Northeast type location, an A.W. Tillinghast design, a legendary golf designer. The only thing that's putting a damper on this, Craig, is some of the weather. There's been some rain in the area, supposed to rain again tonight and into tomorrow morning. And I don't really think that's going to allow this golf course to shine the way we'd all like it to. It's going to soften it up, and there's a good chance these guys could just attack it. And we don't really get to see the beauty of this thing. But my fingers are crossed. They get started. I think they just started just moments ago.
All right. Well, hopefully so. And, we'll hope for the best. More importantly, we need good weather for next week. But let me show you the odds here. This is, just before tea this morning. Rory McIlroy, the favorite. So this is the biggest tournament he's played in that he's back at. Colin Morikawa is 14-1. Xander is 16-1. Justin Thomas 16. Oberg 16-1. And Patrick Cantlay 20-1. I believe Cantlay is probably your shortest odd favorite, Brady, to win this thing.
Yeah, I did land on Patrick Cantlay, and because we have never seen this golf course before, I'm basically just going off of history with what we've seen with similar courses in similar parts of the country. Patrick Cantlay's had a great deal of success in the Northeast on bent grass at traditional type golf courses, and he was my shortest shot at 20-1. We'll see if he can come out on top. I also took Hideki Matsuyama, who has shown tremendous success at Tillinghast Designs and courses that I believe are correlated to this course. It's a shorter course, just over 7,100 yards, a par 70. The par fives are, in the neighborhood of 550 yards long. It's got a par 3 as short as 122 yards, a ton of bunkering on the course. Again, I can't wait to see it, and I hope it's not too soft where these guys just tear it apart. After Matsuyama, I went with some deeper shots. Keegan Bradley at 50-1. This guy has done basically his best work in the Northeast, a St. John's graduate from Vermont. We know about his affinity for that part of the country. And then Justin Rose, who won just about 12 miles up the road at Marion for his lone major championship, the U.S. Open in 2013. And of course, he's been playing very well, taking Rory McIlroy to a playoff at the Masters last month. And then finally, Will Zalatoris, my longest bomb, somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 to 100-1 is probably where you can find him. I think Willie Z is going to have a good week.
All right, so let's move forward a little bit because everyone's focus, of course, Brady, is going to be on next week at the PGA Championship. You came on, I think it was even close to a month ago, and already had some potential predictions for this tournament next week. Has your opinion changed over the last few weeks on anything?
Not really. I've got 4 plays in pocket currently, and I was looking last night at where I might go from here. I'll probably add a couple more players as we kick off next week, but total driving is the one statistic where I begin my handicap. I think at Quail Hollow and then also Torrey Pines, where they play the Farmers Insurance Open every January in La Jolla. Those 2 courses for me on the PGA Tour probably prioritize total driving, I think more so than any other golf course. And total driving is a combination of length and accuracy. So hit it long and hit it straight, and that's a pretty good start. And those are the type of the guys that I have in pocket for the PGA Championship so far. Ludwig Oberg, Jason Day, Xander Schauffele, and Joaquin Niemann from the Live Circuit. All those guys hit it long and straight. So that's where I've started. They've all had success at Torrey Pines and at Quail Hollow in the past. That's, again, where the handicap has started for me. We'll jump into next week. And like I say, when I'm here on with you next Thursday, we might have, or maybe we'll do a Wednesday. We might have a couple more in pocket
that's a better idea.
For the second major of the season.
Yeah, we'll have to slide, Frank a pick or two there to have you on next before the tournament begins on Thursday. Thanks, Brady, for coming on.
You bet. Tell him to jump on those Tigers.
Yeah, he goes against me. Anything that has to do that would hurt the Yankees goes against. Adam Kaufman is up next, so he'll take this up. The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't know what he was doing taking step-back threes at the end of that regulation when he's got bigs on him and he should be driving to the hole.
It's already bad enough that I'm playing with all these NBA and D1 studs that are unstoppable, and I'm the worst one there, and I can still ball with them. But if I start calling fouls, they'll revoke my privileges. Like, I man up when I play with them.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. What's to make of this series between the Celtics and the Knicks? My goodness, the Knicks have stormed out to a 2-0 lead in the best of 7. Let's bring in Adam Kaufman, who, of course, is following these games and following the Celtics very closely as well. All right, well, Adam, thanks for coming on. I don't know what to say.
Well, something had to pull me out of bed today, Craig.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that. Does it maybe look? You follow this a lot closer than me. Does it feel? Sure. Let's do the Celtics side. Does it feel like the Celtics are being too stubborn with the way that they're playing? It's like something is broken and they're not trying to fix it. Is that accurate, or is this just the way that they have to play in order to win?
So I guess allow me to speak out of both sides of my mouth. I think they do need to continue to hoist up threes because this is just a team that, lives and dies by the three. And that was the case throughout not just this year during a 61-win regular season, but last year's championship run where they eviscerated the entire NBA and went 16-3 during the postseason. These guys can shoot. Now, I know if you have watched the first 2 games of this series, you're going, you sure about that? They're shooting 25% from 3 during this series. I just continue to be of the belief that water is going to find its level with that respect. But when it comes back to the other side, the first part of your question about stubbornness, I would argue they're not being, because they took 63s in the first game and only 40 in game 2. So clearly, even though the percentage was the same and the outcome was the same across the board with the blowing a 20-point lead once again, the approach changed. The way they played changed. And if you watch the game, as I know you did and people out there watching and listening did, they just looked out of sorts. They on the floor, there was this is what led to so many of those turnovers. And turnovers were a major issue for the Celtics during this game. It looked like indecision on their part. The ball movement was not crisp. You could say what you want about missing all those shots, 45 3-pointers in game 1, but at least they knew what they wanted to do. In this game, it looked like they didn't know what their approach should be, and they were sort of figuring it out to some degree on the fly, and it was scattered. It was messy. They would have a wide open look from 3. No, we're supposed to drive. Everybody says we're supposed to drive. They'd get out into the paint and they'd fumble the ball around and they'd lose it. And so, I don't think there is a stubbornness or an arrogance or whatever we want to call it. The more I think about the way this game 2 played out. I think it was sloppy. I think it was careless. I think it was ugly. I think there were elements of disinterest, and I don't understand it. To me, this isn't championship hangover or anything like that. This is just, this looked like a team that didn't want it as much as the Knicks did.
Yeah, no, I mean that's apparent. What's not apparent to me is how in the world the Knicks are only slight favorites now to win this series. What am I missing? Being up 2-0, going back to New York, but yet it's still. It is still minus 110 or something. Look, I mean, the Celtics are the champs and they're battle tested. I get it, but I mean, the Knicks just have to win 2 of the next. The Knicks have to go 2-3 in the next 5 games. They can't do that.
Well, I'll give you a stat that's been going around, obviously, since the end of last night's game, which is the Celtics are the first team during the play-by-play era, which goes back to the start of the 1996 season, to lose 2 games when leading by at least 20 points in an entire postseason. And, of course, we just saw them do it in back-to-back games. That is a microcosm of a statistic to tell you the Celtics should be up 2-0 in this series. They should at worst be 1-1 in this series. They are the more talented team than the Knicks, and the Vegas odds are reflecting that. Everybody knows that this is a series that Boston should win. At least that was the mindset going in. It's why they were minus like 900, minus 1,000 to win at the start of the series. And like you said, only slight dogs at this point in time, down a couple of games going back to Madison Square Garden. It's because the Knicks, what they are doing right now, it's just not sustainable. Now, that doesn't mean the Knicks are going to lose the series. Again, they've only got to go 2 and, they've got to win 2 out of 5, like you said. But the Celtics winning 4 out of 5 shouldn't be considered this impossibility when you just look at the talent disparity on both sides. Taking nothing away from Jalen Brunson, clutch player of the year, and he continues to prove it, an all-star, one of the better players in the league, obviously, and a good supporting cast. But it's not a great supporting cast, not an elite supporting cast. I mean, it feels a lot more like the Celtics have lost these games than the Knicks have won these games. And I know how that comes off as sour grapes saying that. I get it. But I think even Knicks fans, even Frank, who's producing this show, would acknowledge, in terms of talent, Boston has the edge, which is why the odds are what they are.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, definitely the Celtics are the more talented team, and they should have won 2, but they didn't. And that's what I look at. I'm just saying. All right, yeah. The Thunder, they've stormed back. Okay, so now I think we've seen what they can do. Is there another blip by them the rest of the series, or do they just run the table here?
So it's funny. I've kind of had both these games wrong. Not in the sense that it's 1-1. That doesn't surprise me at all. But I figured OKC with the layoff would come out strong out of the gate in game 1, cover, win. And then it would be the Nuggets in game 2 that would potentially steal one before going back to Denver. Obviously, we saw the reverse and punctuated in game 2 by OKC winning that game by 75 points and, Jokic fouling out in the third quarter. So weird game. I don't think we're getting that again. I think you're going to get closely contested games. I think the Nuggets have the best player in the world in Jokic, taking nothing away from SGA, this year's MVP. And I think they have great depth, not to say OKC doesn't, obviously, but just I want to, acknowledge what the Nuggets are, which is a team that won a championship only a couple of years ago, and most of that core is still back and is largely healthy and available. So I don't think what we saw in game 1 was a fluke, their ability to keep it close and win the game. I know that the Thunder kind of coached themselves out of that game with all the fouling late, and so they are a team that should be up 2-0 as well. But I think Denver puts up a fight. Probably doesn't win the series, obviously, but I think this is going to be a long series. I think we see 6 or 7 games.
All right, now let's go to tonight's game. And Adam, I got to tell you, I've look. That's not to say that I loved all the dogs in this series, because that's definitely not true. But this is the one game that if the favorite does not win and cover tonight, I quit. That's it. I give up trying to figure this out, because without Steph Curry, if this is a regular season game, I think the Warriors are bigger underdogs than they are tonight at Minnesota. The Timberwolves at home in a playoff game that they just lost are 10.5-point favorites. The total is 201.5. Now, I'm always a dog better, period, everywhere. NFL, NBA, college basketball, everything. This is the first line that I looked at tonight to say, come on, Minnesota's got to get this done, right?
Yeah, you're not going to get any disagreement from me. This is I was saying the other day that to me of these round 2 series, again, New York stealing 2 in Boston, Denver stealing 1 in OKC, obviously Indiana taking 2 in Cleveland. I think the most impressive round 2 win that we have seen so far was Golden State taking game 1 in this series. When you factor in Minnesota being healthy on the other side and being a large favorite, Golden State, you could question whether the Warriors should even be at this point, having gotten past the Rockets, obviously. But then Steph Curry goes down in the second quarter, and it's not like you got a huge game out of Jimmy Butler. It continues to be the Buddy Hield show right now. So I think what the Warriors did in game 1 was so incredibly impressive, but equally just not repeatable. I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota wins 4 straight at this point. Again, we know that Curry is not going to play for at least the next 3 games. Probably don't see him again this season. I would be shocked with that hamstring injury. And I don't think Anthony Edwards goes out and he started 0 for 10 from the field.
I know.
It took a late surge to get him to 23 points, but as a team, Minnesota shot below 20% from 3-point range. This is stuff that just isn't going to happen again tonight. So I'm with you. I take Minnesota with the points, and I'm at least, look, nothing in gambling is free. So I say this, with a little bit of trepidation, but I feel like we're laughing all the way to the bank. I don't understand how Minnesota doesn't win this game by 15, 20 plus points.
Stone cold lock of the year on SportsGrid. No, I'm just kidding. Adam, great to see you again. We'll see if the Celtics can storm back in this series soon. Thanks again for coming on.
They better. My pleasure.
Stanley Cup preview of the rest of this between Maple Leafs and Panthers. Okay. The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Is Steve Kerr coming back? They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't know what he was doing taking step-back threes at the end of that regulation when he's got bigs on him and he should be driving to the hole.
It's already bad enough that I'm playing with all these NBA and D1 studs that are unstoppable, and I'm the worst one there, and I can still ball with them. But if I start calling fouls, they'll revoke my privileges. Like, I man up when I play with them.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. We are going to preview some games in the Stanley Cup playoffs with Jo Madden, who, of course, breaks it all down for you every single day here on SportsGrid. Joe, great to have you back here on NewsWire. Okay, so the Florida Panthers, the defending champions, are down 0-2 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And, in the 80s, I guess, the Maple Leafs were no stranger to doing this. They were a really good team in the 90s too. It's been a while since they've been in this position. The Panthers, though, they're the vets. They won the they were the champions last year. Do they have it in them? Do the Panthers have it in them to come back here? The Leafs have been in this position before, by the way, being up 2-0 or being up 3-1, and they've fallen short. So what happens the remainder of this series?
Yeah, Leafs fans know it well to be true that it's not over until the Toronto Maple Leafs can get that win in Florida. So Florida's not giving up hope here. And we're seeing a Toronto Maple Leafs team that hasn't got past the second round since 2002. So it's so easy for this team. Everyone questioning if they're going to choke at the worst time possible. But the Florida Panthers are making those mistakes out there on the ice. And we look at last night's win by the Toronto Maple Leafs, winning that 4-3. The biggest standout for me is their ability to win those faceoffs. They're winning 62.7% of those faceoffs. They're getting scoring from their depth. We've got William Nylander coming out so strong, Mitch Marner, Max Domi, all putting the goals in the back of the net last night. And while the Florida Panthers are coming out nice and physical, getting those forechecks in, they're just not able to win those faceoffs. So I really do think they are going to struggle back home to slow down Toronto, especially with taking all of these penalties and allowing Toronto to convert there. So Florida needs to bring their A game. I do think they win the next one, but it's going to be an absolute battle out there on the ice with what Toronto's doing.
Yeah, definitely. So close games as well, coming right down to the wire. Okay, speaking of which, the Dallas Stars, let's break down their series with Winnipeg, and the Stars take a commanding lead 1-0 and now are huge favorites to win the series. In fact, they're minus 360 to win the series as well. But the FanDuel Sportsbook, take a look at the odds here on the over 5.5 games. It's minus 148. It tells us the series is far from over.
Yeah, definitely far from over here. You look at the Winnipeg Jets and their ability in the regular season as well as in the last series to convert on the power play is so strong, but we saw the Dallas Stars really limit them last night, holding them to no power play goals on 4 attempts. Now, the biggest storyline of this game was Mikko Rantanen and how anyone is going to slow him down out there. We know in that last series, Mikko Rantanen able to get a hat trick in the third period, and we were in the second period here versus the Winnipeg Jets. And he had a hat trick by that point in this game. So Mikko Rantanen coming out so strong for the Dallas Stars. We got Sebastian Aho back in the lineup as well. Jason Robinson back in the lineup here for them. And they're just playing so strong. But the Winnipeg Jets, I do think, have the opportunity. If they can get that power play going, this series will go at least 6, maybe 7 games. I think this one goes nice and deep.
All right. Now, no one is giving the Capitals a chance in the series, maybe the one series left in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Everyone has Carolina winning this thing. Most have it in 4 or 5 games. I don't know how you feel about it, but they're favored tonight again at Washington. Total 5.5 here, Joe. Can you make the case that Washington can make this a series? I can't really find a lot of people who think that they're going to stay in this thing.
They have to make it a series. Looking at the Washington Capitals, how strong they were all year long. Logan Thompson is the better goaltender of the two teams, but this team needs to find a way to be able to get those shots on goal. They had fantastic block shots in that last game. They actually put up 32 block shots. I had to go back and count those numbers over and over again because I couldn't believe what this defense was able to do. Now, in that last game, Carolina actually trailed this one all the way into that third period where they were able to tie it up and push it to overtime and got that overtime winner. I do think their defense is fantastic, led by Slavin out there. But I look at the Washington Capitals, and they do have the offensive edge out there, even though they were only able to get that 1 goal in the last game. They need all of their lines to really step up in this matchup. Carolina, we know those inconsistencies on the road all season. I do think it haunts them in this game tonight, and I am looking here at Frederik Andersen to allow some goals in. You look at that last game, and in that game, he played nice and solid, but I think there's going to be a little bit of puck luck here for the Capitals in this one. I'm going to look at the Capitals on the money line tonight with that great plus money. There's nothing better than that home dog at plus 140. And then I think we're going to see a couple more goals than last time. I'm going to take the Capitals team total over 2.5. It's coming in at minus 125. So the book's thinking it as well. If you've got to lay that juice, I think this is a 3-2 style game out there on the ice tonight.
All right. Now let's get to the team that knows all about adversity, because no matter if they're out or down, it seems like the Oilers come back. And didn't they take a storming lead in the first 7 games in their series with the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Joe, everyone says that Vegas got to win tonight. They're minus 137, total of 6.5. You could make the case Edmonton's got the best player on the ice between the two teams, maybe the best 2 players on the ice, if that could be possible. Does Edmonton take a commanding 2-0 lead here, or does Vegas tie this up and make this a series?
You know, the Edmonton Oilers have every ability to do so. They've won their last 6 as a dog versus Vegas, and no one expects them ever to roll in here to the Fortress. The book's always putting them as a dog in the Fortress, but they continue to get these wins. I'm looking at this one. Aiden Hill has to be stronger between the pipes. He stopped 24 of 28 shots on goal, and the Edmonton Oilers made that fantastic push in the third period. We saw in that game how it seems to always play out here when Vegas plays against Edmonton is they get up to start. Mark Stone opening up that scoring in that last game with a power play goal and then a regular goal, and then Edmonton answering back. So we had a 2-1 first period, but then that third period, Vegas just can't get things done. The Edmonton Oilers in the third period have been so strong. Now they weren't able to convert on the power play, which is great for Vegas here. And Vegas went 1-3 on that power play, but the domination of the faceoffs came out of the Edmonton Oilers, winning 63.5% of those faceoffs. For Vegas to get this win tonight, they have to control those faceoffs and they have to play a full 60 minutes. They can't allow Edmonton in that third period to put all of those shots on goal, and they have to find a way themselves to get those shots. Calvin Pickard only faced 17 shots in that last game, allowed to. Look for the Vegas Golden Knights to come out nice and strong in the first period, dominated again. I'll take them on the money line at minus 130 in the first period, as well as a puck line, laying a half a goal in that first period at plus 164. They need that fast start out here, and Jack Eichel has to come out strong too.
Great stuff as always, Joe. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the games, and we'll catch up next week. The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't know what he was doing taking step-back threes at the end of that regulation when he's got bigs on him and he should be driving to the hole.
It's already bad enough that I'm playing with all these NBA and D1 studs that are unstoppable, and I'm the worst one there, and I can still ball with them. But if I start calling fouls, they'll revoke my privileges. Like, I man up when I play with them.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. As we wrap up the show here today, we'll get into the latest in the NBA. We'll also talk ticket prices at Madison Square Garden. And honestly, I think this is the ultimate form of fantasy degenerates. Time now for some last licks. All right, you can't make this stuff up, folks. This is real. This is not some April Fool's joke or anything like that. So naturally, my understanding is there's going to be a new pope that is announced soon, right? Am I right about this? I believe I am right. We generally stick to sports here, but there is a fantasy league that you can join called Fanta Papa. That's FANTA PAPA. Has nothing to do with the drink. That you can join a fantasy league and try and predict who the next pope is going to be. So basically, it's kind of like daily fantasy in football or basketball, and you have all these choices. You pick your pricing, and then you hope that you choose the next pope. By the way, my understanding also is that there are some betting markets now, not inside the United States, but outside of the United States, that you can actually bet on who the next pope is going to be. Now, remember, here in the U.S., they do have this, Kalshi, some of these prediction markets on different topics. I did not see that one here in the U.S. But yes, folks, if you're into fantasy and into predicting the next pope, you can actually do this online. Can't make it up. I got to say, this is a very big story. I understand that. But if you really have to bet or play fantasy on this stuff, I think you got to find some sort of sports league to play on instead, I think. If that is the case. So there you go. Fanta Papa. Fantasy league where you can draft, they're saying Cardinals, right? That's the correct term? Cardinals as well. Not the St. Louis Cardinals, by the way. All right. Chris Finch, he's the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and naturally they're up against it here a little bit against the Golden State Warriors. Now, you would expect them to win tonight, right? Steph Curry, arguably, what, is he top 2 player left in the NBA all time that's playing currently right now? LeBron and him, right? That's it. He's going to be out. He's not going to play in their next game. Needless to say, neither Chris Finch or Steve Kerr are particularly happy with the refereeing that has gone down in Game 1. We'll see if things change in Game 2. Here's Finch on the officials.
On defensive rebounding, they do a lot of fouling, holding, shoving, pushing, and tackling Rudy. That's clear. We sent a bunch of those clips into the league. In fact, I'm not sure I know another player in the league with Rudy's pedigree that is allowed to be physically beaten on the way he is. And so, we gotta address that one way or another.
Just the overall physicality isn't, to me, it's crazy out there. What's happening? Everybody's fouling each other. I just feel like they have a really hard job because playoff basketball is, yes, it's physical and they're going to allow more, but I think they could have called a foul 6-7 straight possessions with them guarding Steph. And so I got my complaints too, trust me. We all do, and this is how it works in the playoffs.
I think right now neither coach is happy, but one coach will be happiest after tonight's game. Either Minnesota, little relief. Steve Kerr would be thrilled to be up 2-0. Okay, coming up, Game 3 in Madison Square Garden. This has got to be the biggest ticket price for a Knicks game in a long time. Knicks-Celtics Game 3, most expensive New York Knicks game on record. At Madison Square Garden, the current get-in price, my guess is to sit upstairs and not really enjoy the game, would be over $700. So basically $1,000 to sit lower level, bottom line, to see the Knicks play the Celtics. And it's all because everyone's got Knicks fever in New York. I mean, this is, on the verge of some serious greatness here. If the Knicks are able to pull this series off and get to the Eastern Conference, is it finals from here, Frank? If they win this, do they get to the Eastern Finals? Wow, if they win this one. Yeah, so still a long way to go. Celtics battle-tested. Probably, I would guess Celtics going to win one game in New York. I don't know which, but I would guess one game. And then we'll see what happens when things go back to Game 5 in Boston. That could be the decider. So pony up if you got the cash, $700. I'll pass. Watch it at home. Coming up, it's Smiley Kaufman at noon, latest on the Truist Championship. That's followed by Scott Farrell, Coast to Coast at 3. We got a new show, by the way, to catch, Front Office Sports, at 6 p.m., and then Game Time Decisions in-game live, and then Sports Rage tonight. Thanks to Brady Kannon, Jo Madden, and Adam Kaufman. Those were our guests here on the show today. Thanks to our director, Luke, as always, and for our trusty producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you back here Friday as we wrap up the week with our next edition of NewsWire, exclusively here on SportsGrid. Have a great day.